Thank you for joining us here on Deportes Nation. I'm Alex Parra. Beside me, the new Houston Dash coach, Coach Sam Laity. First of all, Coach, thank you for joining us. How are you? And welcome to Houston.
Alex, thank you very much. Yeah, I'm very well, thank you. Yeah, it's been a very busy couple of days, obviously with the sort of media responsibilities and meeting up with various members of the staff. I think I've probably met 120 people in the last 48 hours. At the moment, I remember the names of 6 or 7. So we're on a positive line there, Alex.
Coach, how did this come about? You know, I asked Hector Herrera, why Houston, why now? Maybe a similar question in general, broad terms. Why now, Coach, after being in the league for many years? Is this the opportunity you were looking for?
Yeah, I used this terminology earlier, Alex, compatibility. I think it's always important in relationships that you find a partner or partners that you are compatible with. And very early on with the discussions with Alex initially, in the conversations that we were having, it was pretty obvious, Alex, that our values were aligned in terms of what we were looking for. As you'd said, I'd been in Seattle for 10 years and been part of a very successful organization. So any step that I was going to take next in my career was going to be a really, really important one. And yeah, I mean, also down to gut instinct as well, Alex. Everything felt right, from my interactions with the people here, the interactions when I was here on a game day scouting Houston and Kansas City in the quarterfinal. There were just a lot of things that kept ticking the boxes, and yeah, and then fortunately I'm in a position where I am now, where I'm the head coach, and they were fortunate enough to offer me the job.
Well, congratulations to you, Coach. In Houston, we've been talking about a change of culture. With the Dash side, with the Dynamo side, Mr. Ted Siegel, we talked about Jessa, you mentioned Alex Singer. We're seeing these changes. I imagine part of the conversation was the new culture that leadership want to establish. It makes sense to you. And we also know, I've talked to all three of them, that a change of culture doesn't happen overnight. It's a process.
Yeah, you're right. And Alex, it's everything. I'm going to simplify culture in one way, and that's how we treat each other.
Yeah.
Whether it's players treating each other, it's staff treating players, it's players treating staff, it's staff members, how they treat each other. I'm going to define the culture by how we treat each other, because that's really, really important. We're going to spend so much time together. There has to be trust there has to be camaraderie, there has to be support. Doesn't mean to say that there won't be moments of conflict, and
sure,
it's how you deal with the conflict. And actually, conflict at times can be positive, Alex. It depends on how it's delivered and how it's addressed, and what the language around it is. And how we treat people is going to be a really, really important part for me. And it starts with I'm a firm believer that how you do anything, Alex, is how you do everything.
Yes, sir.
So making sure that our cultural standards, we won't be posting rules and regulations, Alex. That for me. But that also doesn't mean to say that because we don't have rules, we don't have standards. So cultural standards will be and again, it's not something that will be addressed overnight. By all accounts, there are the standards in the organization are already very high certainly from the playing staff. So absolutely taking advantage of that foundation and just improving on that a little bit and massaging that a little bit will be important for the future, because I've been in organizations and teams where the culture has, ultimately the culture affects performance, and we need to make sure that the culture affects the performance in a positive way.
I'll throw in the word, Coach, and I agree with everything you said. Maybe another word to add to that is respecting each other, even if we disagree. But the question now is, we know the NWSL has recently come out with results of an investigation. It's difficult, it's hard, it's complicated in some ways. But you're coming into a team that's trying to end that, and you spoke about that. Obviously, you were aware of the results of that investigation. Did that play into your decision to say, look, I can be part of a positive change for this team, for this league?
Yeah, 100%. And I've been in the league for 10 years, so I've seen the evolution of the league. Some of it good, some of it bad. I certainly think that we are over the hump now, right? We're over the hump, and we're realigned, and we're going in the direction that the league needs to go, and also a direction that the players deserve. So 100%, I felt that this would be an organisation and a team and a culture that I could take forward. I'm ambitious. I'm humbled. I'm grateful to be here, but I'm not satisfied. I want the team, the club, to be successful.
Expectations, coach. What were the expectations you discussed with leadership? I imagine it's to win a championship. That's always a goal in a competitive environment.
Yeah, I mean, we talked. I'll be honest with you, Alex. We talked, briefly about that.
Yeah.
But not. It wasn't. They weren't slamming their fist on the table saying you've got to win your championship this year, right? It's, we have a very, very, a very smart and very educated ownership and management group, and they understand that isn't going to happen overnight. In this league, it potentially could, unlike many other leagues, but I think they know what's going to happen overnight. And it really is about it's really about the destination. And I know it can be a bit of a cliche, but the destination, Alex, is 99.9% of it, or
Great.
99% of it, and actually the destination ends up being 1%. And sometimes when you get to the destination, it's not quite as romantic and as great as you thought it would be. So. And that would also mean that we're looking at it from a weekly or weekly or yearly, perspective. And, let's just say, the team this year, the club this year, they made it to the quarterfinal, made it to the playoffs the first time in their history. Was it a failure? Absolutely not. The difference between success and failure at any level is very, very thin margin. So difficult to say that all the work that the players put in for 197 days, whatever it is, hard to say that was a failure just because they didn't get across the line in the quarterfinal. Of course, it's professional sports, Alex, right? And everybody's objective is to try and win. But there has to be more substance to that.
Coach, are you happy with the team you're inheriting? Often when coaches come in, they look at their roster and they say, look, I wouldn't have put these players together. I've got to have my time to ease into what I want. Are you happy with your team? Are you going to have a competitive team as we start the next season?
Well, that's the plan. I think number one, I think I said this earlier. The foundation of a competitive team in NWSL is here. Like every other team, every other coach, we are ambitious. We want this to be a destination club. That means us bringing in players that we think can do very, very well in this league and help push us to the next level. We're always going to be looking for the not just the best players, but the right players. We're not going to run out there and balance the squad and tear apart what is a pretty solid foundation. What I'd say is that we're going to add a couple of pieces here and there potentially, and mold that group together again.
What style of play can fans expect from Coach Sam? What is it that we're going to be looking at on the field? We're always asked that, and I think maybe part of the answer, Coach, is, well, I have to see what I have, and then based on my talent on my players, I can develop a style around them. Or has that been discussed? Was that part of the conversation with leadership?
Yeah, absolutely part of the conversation. Yeah, I mean, absolutely part of the conversation. I talked about a vision of the team using key terms. We'll have tactical principles and all the other stuff, the X's and O's, but talking about key terms and devastating and overwhelming are two of the key terms that we will be using on a regular basis to describe the way that we want to train and the way that we want to play, because it doesn't happen on a Saturday, Alex, without it happening Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday for weeks and days upon end. So. Yeah. A devastating style of football or soccer, and an overwhelming style of football and soccer. And project number one, Alex, being making this stadium a absolute fortress.
Part of that, Coach, is bringing in the youth that are around the city of Houston. There's a lot of talented young ladies. I happen to be part of the youth club scene in Houston. How can the pathway be a reality for those young ladies? Is that part of the conversation as well? Like with the first team of the Dynamo, we're talking about the academy system and what that's going to bring eventually to that first team on the men's side. Was that discussed as well? And young ladies that may be watching us now and one day want to be part of the Houston Dash, will that pathway be there? And again, maybe it's going to take time, before that's in place?
Yeah, there have not been a lot of discussions about that because there are obviously priorities, right? There are
Sure.
a million different topics and a million different subjects that we can look at and say that we need to address. I do believe that is part of the next step for the club. I think it's probably not quite as easy as putting a program on paper and then letting it roll out. I think it's a little bit more complicated than that, potentially politically. But yeah, I mean, the dream would be that you have players from Houston that have played for the Dash growing up, representing the first team. I mean, that would be that would be a dream. That would be a goal. And if that could happen in the time that I'm with the club, then that would make me very, very proud. And that would be certainly something that, as a club, an organization, we could be very, very happy about.
I was there, Coach, at the playoff game you talked about, the first one in the history of the club. That stadium almost full, PNC Stadium almost full. How can we as a soccer community replicate this? How can we support this team? How can we support women's soccer, women's football? It's been a long time coming. I'm a big advocate of women's sports, of women's soccer in particular. What can we keep doing? How can we keep supporting for this to grow for generations to come?
Well, I think the first part of success, Alex, and you'll know this, is showing up.
Yeah.
So if we can put together a product on the field, and then we can do the community engagement things. But if people can show up, this can be an exciting place to come and witness soccer. You know, I was here for that quarterfinal game, and it was absolutely electric. So, I mean, I was surprised that so many people were wearing Houston Dash apparel. I just thought, well, you know, where, you know, has everybody gone out and gone shopping today? Has everybody bought these jerseys today, or have these people been coming over the course of the year, but at different times? So, yeah, certainly part of the conversation, and it's also, I think, a little bit our responsibility on the field. The home form has not been fantastic throughout the last 5 years. The home form has been, well, in fact, the away form has been better than the home form. So that'll be one of the first things we address. Let's make this place an absolute fortress. This should be the conditions here.
Yeah.
It should be, and the style of play and our commitment to the game and our commitment to each other on the field. This should be an awful place to come. This should be a very, very intimidating place. So I mean, the moment that teams get off the airplane and they feel the humidity, and then they step into the cauldron of PNC Park, and then they are hit with a wave of intensity. They're hit with a wave of devastating types of devastating football. That it would be easy for teams to fold, and that would be part of the project. Let's make that happen.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Sooner rather than later.
Absolutely. Coach, to close, any message you have for fans out there, Dash fans, soccer fans in the city that may be watching, that may be listening? You have the last word there, sir.
Thank you very much, Alex. Dash on. Very excited, very humbled, very proud. I'm excited for the club moving forward, and excited for the fan base. It's come out, watch us train, watch us play, and you never know as a player who's going to be watching. There will be a kid or even a fan that you might capture their heart in one moment that will make them think that they have to come back on a regular basis.
Coach, it's an honor to speak with you. Hopefully we'll meet in person soon. Congratulations. It's a very special moment. I'm like you. I feel it. I think it's the beginning of something huge. Coach Sam, thank you for your time. We appreciate it. Good luck.
Thanks, Alex. Take care.